he? Did we just lose?
Oh, okay.
Well, it certainly seems like we're in the endgame now, folks. But anyways, welcome back, true believers and all you merry Marvelites, to another very interesting Marvel games-related video, specifically relating to the two massive Marvel games that have released from Square Enix, which of course are none other than Marvel's Avengers and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Because recently, there has been a massive acquisition that has taken place within the gaming industry, which directly impacts exactly what this future might entail for the developers who have worked on Avengers and Guardians. And to clarify, the developers in question directly pertain to Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, who were previously subsidiary companies of the main publisher Square Enix. Similar to how Insomniac Games is a full-on first-party developer underneath the PlayStation publisher banner. But for the case of Crystal and Eidos, their overall ownership has changed rather drastically, because recently it was announced that Square Enix has officially sold Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics to the Embracer Group, including their IPs of Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and more, for $300 million. And as for the deal itself, the transaction between these companies is likely to occur sometime between July and September of this year. Now, as for what exactly the newfound owners of Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal went on to say about this deal, there is an entire article of a press release that they did post on their website, which I will leave as a link in the description below. But given their initial post about the deal, they did state, "Today, we have entered into agreement to welcome over 1,000 new colleagues to the acquisition of Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal, with a fantastic catalog of IPs such as Tomb Raider and Deus Ex to be part of our ecosystem." But the biggest question on everyone's minds is, what exactly does this mean for the multi-year, multi-game partnership that Marvel Games had in store with Square Enix pertaining to Marvel's Avengers and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy? Because unlike Crystal and Eidos, who are merely the developers of those games, the Marvel Games multi-year, multi-game partnership was made directly with Square Enix, who then simply had the license for those Marvel properties to make games on, and decided to distribute them to the respective developers of Crystal and Eidos. So seeing that Eidos and Crystal are not officially a part of Square Enix anymore, a lot of things are still up in the air as to what exactly this means for the future of Marvel's Avengers, which is in fact a live service game, and whether or not we could see an official sequel for Guardians with Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Well, luckily, we do have a bit of a small insight from the Embracer Group, who did slightly discuss about what exactly their stance is on the Marvel games that were made by Crystal and Eidos, as well as have a small summary from a games journalist who has covered Marvel's Avengers on a frequent basis, of Paul Tassi. And based on everything that Paul went on to analyze in this article, it sadly seems like that the overall future for both of these Marvel properties isn't looking all that bright in the grand scheme of things. Because as Paul's article states, as part of the live stream announcing the deal, Embracer was asked the question. The main question being exactly what we can expect for the future of these Marvel properties coming from Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, where they indicated that currently published games like Avengers and Guardians would be moving over after the deal, but future games would require working out a deal with the license holder, that being Marvel, and that approval has not been acquired yet. So basically, it does sound like the Embracer Group does have the current rights for Avengers and Guardians with the games that have already released, but may need to get approval from Marvel Games directly if they want to make future installments to these franchises. Or in the case for Avengers, which is a live service game, whether or not they want to actually continue making content for that title, considering that the current roadmap has already been cancelled, and knowing that the only other officially confirmed hero that is scheduled to be added within the game is simply going to be a copy of an already existing character with Thor. And in case you haven't seen this clip already, this is what was stated during the Embracer Group livestream, which did analyze exactly what the deal entails pertaining to these Marvel licensed games.
First of all, just want to ask about the two recently released Marvel licensed games, Marvel's Avengers and Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy. Are they included in the transaction? I assume not.
Well, yes, all games that has been developed by the studios are included in the transaction. However, a number of external approvals are needed from external parties in order to close this transaction. and potentially licensors, as you mentioned here, could be one of those approvals needed.
Okay, and just to understand that correctly, if that would be approved, I mean, is that the base case that it is approved and that they are part of the deal and that you can develop games based on these IPs ahead?
I don't expect any notable commercial agreement relating to the studios or this transaction to be declined by either regulatory parties or business partners. However, that remains to be seen, obviously. I think your question was relating to the two existing games and whether they will be still operated and built upon and changed from the existing plans today going forward. I think that is the color I can give you on this, Oscar.
And to elaborate further on Paul Tassie's article following that clip, that said, given the deal seems mainly focused on listing all the classic gaming IPs that have come over to Embracer now, it seems unlikely that a main priority going forward would be a huge resurgence of Avengers content in year 2 after launch, past what's already planned, or a sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy. Critically praised, but according to Square Enix's own financials, caused Eidos to have a profit margin of just 0.65% in 2021. We already know that Crystal Dynamics is now busy building a new Tomb Raider game in Unreal Engine 5, while at the same time helping Microsoft out with Xbox's Perfect Dark. Eidos, meanwhile, seems poised to take on something like a new Deus Ex game, or dip back into an old IP that comes along with this deal like Thief. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to throw them on Guardians of the Galaxy 2. In short, this seems far more likely to resurrect series like Deus Ex and Thief than save Avengers live service ambitions or greenlight a Guardians sequel. And honestly, that may be the best path forward. And for me personally, I definitely understand where Paul is coming from and do have to agree with a lot of his points. Even though I personally believe that Guardians is genuinely one of the best superhero games I've ever played and is easily the best thing to have come out of the Square Enix and Marvel Games multi-year multi-game partnership, the fact of the matter is that it didn't sell as well as another Marvel game like Spider-Man PS4 did with breaking sales records, and instead kind of fell flat as to what Square Enix was projecting the game would do. Although I once again have to reiterate that the main reason why I think the game didn't sell as well as it did is primarily caused to the bad sense of faith that people had going into the game based on the last terrible outing with Marvel's Avengers, which to this day is still experiencing massive issues and a genuine lack of overall content, all of which is not going to keep players invested within the game or its future whatsoever. And in case you forgot, Crystal Dynamics is still in developer debt with Marvel's Avengers since they have not made back their overall cost that it took them to make the game. So why on earth would the Embracer Group want to spend more money than they already have to buying Crystal and Eidos to try and further fund an already dying game? In the end, everybody, we still don't know a whole lot about this deal surrounding the future of Marvel games and their connection to Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, especially given the new ownership that has now taken place with the Embracer Group, but it certainly seems like, to me at least, that they're going to be trying to revitalize older franchises like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex in order to bring new life to them to engage audiences on a much grander scale. However, I do have to be clear that nothing has been officially set in stone just yet when it comes to the future of these Marvel games, and that we will just have to wait and see as to what exactly the final outcome will be for both of these franchises. But for me personally, I would still take a Guardians sequel over any other Avengers content any day of the week. So fingers crossed that at least ends up seeing the light of day. And with all that said, true believers, that's the video that I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think of this massive acquisition from Embracer Group now fully acquiring Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal? Would you like to see Avengers continue given where it currently stands right now, or would you like to see another installment for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy? Let me know what you think. Be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy, and for more Marvel games videos like this in the future. And without further ado, peace out.